All right, Sistas fans. Now, I did mention this in the comment section of my episode 15 trailer breakdown. I did get a new USB cable for my microphone because I don't know, for whatever reason, when I do Beyond the Gates reviews, every now and then it'll be like, hey, Jeremy, there's some audio issues. And I'm like, wait, what? I don't know if it was Audacity, the software I use to record, or my mic. But I figured, you know what? Let me get a new cable. And I did, and it turned out to be even better than I thought, but it was picking up more sound than normal. So I had to readjust the Audacity settings. So in my trailer breakdown, I hated how there were some moments where you can hear heavy breathing because it's picking up my breathing more. But then also, if I like smack my lips, which I hate, I don't do that normally, but well, that's what I get for recording about 10 minutes after I had breakfast. But hopefully this audio sounds better. So in the comments of this review, let me know if the sound quality is good, if you don't hear a lot of breathing, that kind of stuff, because good grief, this thing was on sale, but I didn't expect it to work as well as it does. So okay, you did hear that breathe because that was a heavy inhale, but I just had to say, last night's episode 14, pull up on me. First of all, the live stream we had a great time. We had well over 200 people the entire live, and there were some differing opinions. Some people were giving it 10 out of 10. Other people thought it was great. Some felt like me in the range of 5, 6, or 7 in terms of score. I liked it, but I felt like there were a lot of moments that kind of undercut what should have been great scenes. Case in point, I did not like Zach for most of that entire scene at the law firm, because he was on that Karen timing in that, you know what, I decided I'm going to apologize for something, but only if you apologize for what you did, even though the other person in question honestly had nothing to apologize for. I'm glad Fatima did not agree to apologize for feeling how she felt regarding relief over Karen not having Zach's baby. Well, the stillborn, I mean. I will get to all that later, but there were other moments like that in this episode where a character, it's like they would say something, and I'm like, no, you're not the person who needs to be calling out the other person. You need to be reflecting on yourself. But regardless, this was pretty interesting. Somebody said it best that, man, the way they're writing this show, it almost feels like the ending. I'm like, yeah, because this episode and next week, sheesh, it looks like they're fast tracking a lot of character stuff, and I really don't like that. So, before we go further in the video, please take a moment to hit the thumbs up button to show you like it. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Hit subscribe and hit the bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content on the channel. I don't think this review is going to be like 58 minutes like last week. So let's see how we do. Now, Karen tells Aaron that she needs a hard reset in order to help her grow through this, just this funk she's in right now. I did like how she asked Aaron to have a seat and they talked things through. This was lengthy, but it was actually very well needed. So she wants to, figure out what's going on. She can't come to grips as to whether or not what she's dealing with is postpartum grief or just something else entirely. And that's when Aaron says something that is very valid. Like, you can't decide this kind of thing for yourself. And I love that because this isn't just about Karen. I'm not downplaying what she's going through, but you have a baby and a baby's father to consider when you make these kind of decisions. But she says, I want us to move, which includes you and Aaron. And I'm like, what? So I was shocked by that because Aaron's like, so what? Are we going to do like long distance co-parenting, or, do I get her on the weekends? Like, how exactly is this going to work? But no, she wants Faith and Aaron to move with her. And then Aaron, he asked, I'm going to say, the $750,000 question. Not the $1 million question, because he's like, if Zach's baby was the one that made it instead of my baby, would you still feel the need to have to leave town? I don't know. But this doesn't have anything to do with Zach. We've closed that chapter. I'm going to be completely honest, though. I really wish he would have rephrased the question. It's kind of like, what's his face? Is it Teray, right? That that musical journalist or whatever, the one that asked R. Kelly the hard-hitting question of, do you like teenage girls? But I know he said in an interview, no, I think he was about to say, I was about to say, do you like, I was about to say underage, but I'm like, no, that's a softball question. So at the last second, I said teenage girl, and then he's like, how old is that? So it's like, if he would have rephrased the question of Karen, would you still be feeling the way you feel now regarding your grief and depression if it was Zach's baby that made it instead of mine? Because that is the $1,000,000 question we've all been speculating about this whole time, because I honestly don't think she would. I think she would be treating Aaron like a side character because she would be all up in Zach's face. That's how I feel. You can't convince me otherwise. I don't care what Karen says. To be fair, though, she says, I don't know, but I think that if it was Zach's baby that made it, she would not want to move. The only thing she want to do is move closer to Zach. Be like, hey, Deja, get out of here. I'm moving in next door with Zach and I's baby. Honestly, that's what I think would happen. This is Karen we're talking about here. So, Aaron's like, well, look, it's just a fair question. And look, I don't want Zach. And then here's another shocker. Last week, she was calling Aaron honey. This week, I love you, Aaron. I am happy that you are the father of faith. And, I'm like, oh, wow. So that's when Aaron says something that I quite honestly wish he hadn't said, because in all honesty, it was not needed. He just says, well, the reason I said it's a fair question is because last night when Zach found out you were in missing, he sprang into action, drunk and all, and he rushed over here. Karen kind of had a light in her eye moment, like, oh, no. Aaron, shut up. You did not need to say that. I was on board with everything you were saying up until that point. Karen did not need to do that, because you know why? I think it was low-key planting the seeds of hope. I hope that we are moved past this, but hey, actions speak louder than words. And even though it gets to the point where Aaron is understanding of how, hey, I know you two care about each other and whatnot. And that's when Karen mentions the laundry list of things. It's not just Zach, but, your ex-wife, her brother. Good callbacks to earlier seasons, when his ex-wife unalived herself and her brother broke into this apartment and tried to kill her and Zach got stabbed, and then the salon fire and just a long list and then Gary getting stabbed and all this other stuff. And that's the reason she wants to go. But then she brings up the salon being that, and this is kind of sad because we know that salon was Karen's baby before she got pregnant. The fact that she doesn't really feel it like she used to. Now, this is why I wish the writers hadn't written Pam to be so dang incompetent. Because if Karen leaves, how is this going to work? I mean, well, to be fair, let's not forget, Pam was the one that ran the salon into the red. I'm assuming they are back in the green now, between Roots to Riches and Marie's investment. But, I mean, they really didn't need to make Pam so incompetent. They could have easily fixed it where she grew more competent and time management skills and whatnot so she can work on Roots to Riches and the salon. That way, if Karen exits the show, it doesn't seem like she's just leaving it high and dry. But yeah, she just doesn't feel it anymore. So that's when the decision is made. Actually, they come to a agreement of sorts where Aaron is on board, but they're not going to make any concrete decision yet, aside from the fact of we aren't going to pack up and move until we have a plan, where we're going to go, all that good stuff. So that's pretty much what's going on there. Oh yeah, there was a little back and forth about her saying, I apologize. I know I haven't been the easiest person to deal with recently. And that's when Aaron says, recently? Yeah, recently. Now, Aaron was right in terms of not being recently, in terms of her being hard to deal with. But at the same time, I'm not as sympathetic towards Aaron at this point because of the fact that look at how many times Karen let you know from the jump, I'm still not over Zach. Or she goes on to say something like, I think I need to be single now. I need to figure things out. And even though she would repeatedly ask for space and time, Aaron never once respected her wishes. He would constantly be a presence in her life, whether she wanted to or not, popping up saying, oh, I prayed and God told me this, and then sending flowers to the salon every week. And even after she made it clear, I don't want to have a baby with you and we don't know each other well enough, he still pursued her. So in terms of her not being the easiest person to deal with, he was the one that signed up for it, even after Karen like retracted his application, if you will. So just saying. But in any case, that's when, they get to the point of agreeing to move. So now let's talk about Danny real quick. She's coming back from, I'm assuming, wait, because this isn't the, wait, hang on. Is this a new day? Well, no, Danny was at the airport when she talked to Sabrina last week about getting her money out. So I don't know. I'm just going to say she's coming from lunch. I don't know. I'm just saying. So Danny comes back and then everybody's like looking at her funny. And it's like, what's going on here? Like almost like she has toilet paper on the bottom of her heel or something. But it turns out that Leonard comes down the runway with the box and reveals he got fired because of budget cuts, and human resources, or HR, said that they're going to be doing more firing. So next thing you know, I want to see you in the unemployment line. And I love how, let me just say this much, and I'll get to more recent page in a minute. Even though season 9 has not been the greatest season, I will say that it has been one of the funniest seasons because the writing for the comedy has been on point. So Danny's like, after everything you did for this airline, go off, Leonard. What are you going to do? You're already fired. F hire airlines. What? F hire airlines. F hire airlines. After everything I did, F hire airlines. He just looked around at people. He just ran out of there. It's like, yeah, go crazy. Go buck wild. But then Miss Brown comes up to Danny, and then Danny goes on a tangent because she knows what's going on. This reminds me of, what was it? HBO's One Night Stand special for Steve Harvey. I know people are like, oh, Steve ain't funny because, he's nothing compared to like Bernie Mac and whatnot, which is true. But if there was ever a stand-up that you needed to see from Steve Harvey from the early days, it's this one. Essentially the one where he's wearing the yellow suit. And he does that segment about the difference between white people and black people getting fired on the job. This was it. And I loved it. So Danny just goes on a whole tangent and she's thinking she's about to be fired. And this leads to the whole thing where I did the video of, well, do you think she's going to get promoted to VP? Do you think she's going to get fired? What's the deal? Rather than getting fired temporarily, depending on how long the budget cuts last, Danny's hours are going to be reduced as opposed to her getting fired. So she's like, oh, okay, cool. So later in the episode, as she's walking out of her job through the carport, she sees Officer Green, who's arrested Leonard. And it turns out this fool was throwing around suitcases and slapping people. Yeah, that's right, Danny. You know what? We had to stick it to the man, do it together, right? I know you raised heck in there too. Nah. Well, you got fired, right? Nah, they just cut my hours, man. So, yeah, don't drop the soap. What does that mean? Oh, don't worry. I think you'd like it. So after Leonard gets taken away, that's when her and Officer Green have an exchange. And it was very flirtatious, which has me going, yep. Danny's about to get rid of that 180-something pound dead weight on her couch, and Officer Green's about to come over. Turns out he's one of the head police officers in the city. So I love how Danny pointed out, dang, are you the only cop working at ATL? Which I think is a funny nod to some of the complaints from fans like, yo, is there only one doctor at the hospital? Is there only one cop at the precinct? Is there only one lawyer in the state? Because of the fact that whenever a person in a notable position of power is given a name and notable scenes, they're usually the person who does, hey, if we need anything related to legal help, this person is a jack of all trades. You see what I mean? So yeah, they are definitely setting up Officer Green and Danny to be a thing. So we go over to the bank, and Rock comes in looking really suspect to deposit $10. Didn't Danny give him like $20 or something the other day when he first came into the airport? I guess this must be changed for that. And he's looking around, but he's probably looking for Sabrina to see, where she's at. But the thing about it is Maurice and Rock have an exchange. Now, based on the trailer, I'm thinking, look, yeah, we know about the dating app thing, and that's probably where Maurice saw him from. But the fact that there were some tense vibes, like whenever Maurice would say some of his classic, things that would make a straight man uncomfortable, Rock was like, "What'd you say?" And then when Maurice is like, "Have I met you before?" Just the aggression from Rock and the curiosity from Maurice had me going, this was reminding me of Alonzo from season 1. That former athlete that Maurice flirted with, and he agreed to go out on a date with him. And then when he showed up to the bank parking lot in drag, Alonzo beat the crap out of him. Yeah, it was kind of one of those situations where I'm like, oh, snap, did Maurice meet this dude on the inside or what? But it turns out, no, I don't know you. He's like, oh, well, thanks for your deposit. You have $8 instead of being in the negative. So that's when Maurice chases him down. Oh, yeah, the funny thing is Paige was eyeballing Rock as soon as he came in, and Maurice called her out for, cultural appropriation. Now, Rock actually goes into Sabrina's office, and that's when Sabrina calls him out for lying. And Maurice stays in the door because he's like, yeah, he's giving off them bank robber vibes. And listen, I got involved with the bank robber unintentionally, and I'll be dang if you do the same thing and we both end up getting locked up again. Very good callback. So, Rock is called out by Sabrina for lying on his profile, and he does the same for her. But the thing is, though, your picture had 22 filters. Well, you didn't put in that you just got out of jail. Well, you didn't put your jail time up on there. Well, it was different. Yeah, to be fair to Sabrina, her circumstances were different because she was wrongfully incarcerated by morons. And when it comes to Rock, he mentions, I'm not a doctor, but I was going for my doctorate, and he got arrested when he was in school or in class. I don't know. Maybe we'll get more backstory on it. But simply put, the way this scene plays out, Rock is like, look, you got my number. Text me if you need another checkup. Basically, when you want some more D, holla at me. So after he leaves, Maurice gives Sabrina an earful about it. And then that's when Paige wants in on the conversation. But Sabrina's like, oh, Paige, I don't know if I feel comfortable talking to you about this kind of stuff. And then she's like, oh, I'm down. And then she dabs. And I'm like, oh, my God. Paige is so lovable but annoying in a, lovable way. So when Maurice is giving Sabrina the work, that's when Paige's brother Dylan comes in with that vision board from the night before. And he's like, oh, I don't appreciate you showing up to my job unannounced. Oh, well, I was heading to work and the bank is on the way, but I apologize for that and for kissing you without warning last night. And after he leaves, they tease Maurice for being, flustered. And that's when Paige is like, well, aren't you going to say hello to your sister? Ain't nobody come to see you, Otis. Maurice was on fire with those quips last night. So, aside from that, I guess we can talk about, the law firm. Yeah, like I said, this review won't be super long. I'm killing it today. Fatima's in the conference room doing some work. Zach shows up to apologize, and this is where he lost me. He starts off by calling her out for her hormones flaring up. It's like, hey, I came to say I understand why you were acting the way you were acting because your hormones are all over the place. And I'm here for accountability. And I'm just, okay. Because I'm thinking to myself, you call out Fatima for her hormones, but if we're acting completely honest, Zach, you've been acting more immature, unruly, and unreasonable than your pregnant fiance. So what's that about? So he admits to being wrong about the midwife. It's our baby, but your body. I'm going to follow your lead. I really did appreciate that. He did explain, though, why he did it, but he is sorry. And that's when this is where, again, where he loses me. So I took accountability. So aren't you going to apologize for not telling me about Karen? Which Fatima relents to by saying, I respected Karen's wishes not to divulge that information to anyone. Case in point, F you, Zach. Fatima did not need to apologize for that, because it doesn't matter, since Fatima made sure both Karen and Faith got home safely. That is what's killing me about this crap. No, it seems like Andy and Zach, especially Zach, were on a hateration stint over not being chosen by Karen to be her rescuer, as opposed to, whew, that's a close one. I'm just glad her and the baby are safe. What is going on with that? And even though I hate that Fatima sort of relented to Zach there, I am glad she refused to say sorry, because look, I'm not going to say that I was wrong for feeling relief. All right? That's just how I feel. And that's when Zach says the line that Crystal foreshadowed at that mid-season watch party in Brooklyn the other week, about how low-key, on and off, I felt bad for feeling relief as well. So there we go. We nipped it in the bud. And that's when he demands an apology for See, this is the worst kind of person. And this isn't just regulated to Zach, because Karen is the same way. If someone does you wrong and decides they're going to apologize, but they do some bull crap like this where I said sorry, but are you going to say sorry for this thing from like 8 months? Like, F you and that apology, get out of my office. Like, I don't have time for this bull crap. This is what killed me about the scene. So many people liked it. If you did, I don't want to take that. My goal for my content and commentary is not to make you see things my way, in the sense of, because I didn't enjoy this movie, because I didn't enjoy this episode, I take away your joy. I'm offering my perspective. And if you agree with me, great. If you don't, that's cool too. But at the end of the day, I hope you understand why I see things, or why I feel the way I do about things, based off the, same episode we're seeing together. But this was not good. This just felt like a half-baked method of moving past this drama to get Zach and Fatima back on track. But it doesn't work for me. It fumbles it, because Zach really didn't come to say I'm sorry. He's like, I'm going to admit to some of my shortcomings if you admit to all of yours. Which is just crazy to me, because I say this every week and I'll say it again. Going back to the beginning of 2025, if you would have told me, during the time where we had Zatima season 3 second part, if you would have said, Jeremy, before the end of 2025, you're going to be switching up your stances. You're going to be defending Fatima and condemning Zach. And I'm like, ain't no way. And I'm doing it now. Well, no. Then the conversation switches to Chaz, which again, that's not Fatima's fault. But that's when, aside from bringing up, Chaz came over unannounced. Like, there's no argument there. That wasn't my fault, but he was completely wrong. And that's when he mentions, or Fatima mentions, the whole Andy drama. And then that's when, like, well, what's Andy giving you grief for? Because it's like, I don't know, I'm breaking away and doing my own thing. This is mine. It's like, he's like, F Andy. And I'm like, thank you, Zach. It's like, Zach, keep your voice down. No. If she got an issue, what, is she scared of losing you as her assistant because you're doing your own thing? Or is she hating on you because you got your own thing going on? This is good. I was like, that, Zach, you reeled me back in, Zach. You did, with that line right there. And essentially saying, you know what, and these gifts got to stop. Zach, shut up. Like, I understand, like, the popping up at the house unannounced and sending unsolicited gifts, but if your woman is doing great at her job and her clients are gifting her, shut up. But he does go on to say, I mean, if people send gifts, make sure they're like his and hers. That way we can both use it like a car. And I'm like, all right, okay. So then out of the blue, I would say out of the blue, but for the past several minutes, you could see Chaz lingering in the background, waiting for his sign to walk on set. That was hilarious. But he rolls up, and then Zach is like, oh, this dude here. So he and Chaz get into a bickering match, a lot of B-word, basically words I can't use because of demonetization. Sorry. If I use certain words, demonetization. Look, you know how YouTube works. But basically, they keep going back and forth until Fatima calls him out and says, look, we're no longer doing business. I'm not your attorney. You're not my client. Let it go. And I'm going to choose Zach every time. And Zach's facial expressions were priceless. Now, here's the thing with this. For as good as this scene was, and it was a good scene, and Fatima in that red, I swear, I just hate that we are in season 9 of Sistas, about to wrap it up in a few weeks. And yet, Zach has been over here acting like Fatima cheated. And I know, well, Jeremy, he's not just thinking about the Chaz thing. It's a mixture of all things from the grief and all. I get that, but has Fatima not proven herself to be loyal? Even if I hadn't, been a fan of her in Zatima season 3 and whatnot, when has this woman in recent seasons given him any reason to think she's creeping around or being unfaithful to him? It's stupid. But that's when somehow Chaz feels like he's going to get back at both of them. It's like, I thought you were smarter than this. I thought we were about to make this money. I see how it is. Well, I'm not done with you, Zach, and I'm not done with you either, Fatima. Well, let me just say this much. If you want to roll over to somebody's house unannounced in the middle of the night, you're going to be leaving with more. You won't be leaving alive, essentially. And that's when Hayden comes in. Whoa, what's going on here? Come on, big man. Look, is everything cool? Look, I'm the top dog around here. We're going to make this money. Get out of my way, you little old ass man. And the way Hayden caught that stray, and then Zach did the same thing to him, that was funny. I think my favorite line, though, was when Zach was like, don't make me stand on this table and whoop your behind, Chaz. So, yeah, that's the end of that. But, man. So, Zach then leaves to go to the... I'm sorry. Like I said, I did enjoy bits and pieces of this episode. But at the same time, some of these characters were doing things. I'm like, yo, you shouldn't be saying that. You shouldn't be doing that. Now, Zach goes to the gym. And honestly, I thought the gym stuff would happen before the law firm stuff. But he's like, let me go ahead and check this account. Yo, I got 100 racks. He starts smiling and cheering. I checked my own bank account thing. And you know what? Maybe I got some money. I'm like, oh no, they took my mortgage payment out. Never mind. Yo, this dude's face lit up so much. I'm thinking, man, it made me think I got some money to look forward to. But my guess is this. Gary made good on his word to Andy that he would make things right for her, by her and her friends. And I'm guessing this money was the money that Zach handed Gary to invest, and Gary finally gave it back. I could be wrong, but that is my guess. Now, Mr. Keys shows up mid-celebration, and then they have that look. I'm that, boy, you look like your daddy kind of guy, so it is not uncommon for me. Anytime, anywhere. Hey, is so-and-so your daddy? Or I knew him growing up, or this, that, and the third. So this entire conversation felt like something I go through anytime I leave my house. So that's when it's revealed that Keys was actually Zach's father. He was Zach's father's best friend. And he's happy. He's like, oh, I can't believe you're his son. And yeah, I ain't got nothing to say for him because, he was never there for me or my mom. And so I'm sorry to hear that. And well, look, if you ever want to get out to get a drink or something so we could talk, because I ruined your mood. Like, you're over here celebrating, I just killed your whole vibe. And we know they will meet up because of a behind the scenes photo. Well, not photo, but it was in a video from behind the scenes. They will have that drink at some point. So, with that being said, the last thing to talk about is Andy. So she calls Sabrina and she wants to vent about the way Danny went at her at the penthouse the night before. And surprisingly, Sabrina vouches for Danny because of Andy's behavior. She doesn't like being lied to. I'm like, who are you and what have you done with Sabrina? Because usually Sabrina would be the supportive gal pal. But low key, maybe Karen's words were a bit more... They did some work on the girls. And Sabrina, rather than being kumbaya, is being real. Like, you know what, Andy? What you did was uncalled for. Like, hey, if you were going to meet with Dr. Vaughn, you could have just said that. You didn't need to lie. Well, I didn't lie, kind of, sort of. And the thing is, she's absolutely right. And I said this when that episode aired. Why is Andy lying to Danny and Karen about where she's going in the middle of the night? You could have just said, Karen, this is a text from Dr. Vaughn, because after everything that went on at the hospital, your mom made me promise, to go after him because of Dr. Cruz. So he's going to help me out with this case. That's all she had to say. But no, she went back to being secretive and crap. And well, like like Sabrina said, with your track record, you can't blame Danny, seeing you and Gary alone. And well, there it is. And from there, Rock comes in, so that's when she has to get off the phone with Andy. And then Dr. Vaughn shows up unannounced and brought coffee. So, that's when Andy vents about, the girls being upset with her because she got caught in a lie. So you admit you do lie. Would you look at that? And then she says it's about, when they met up, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry about that. Like, why did you lie? Well, because I didn't want them in all my business and all this other stuff. So he came in with the coffee, and he mentions how the coffee came from a black owned, it's a black couple that owns their own coffee shop, and their brand and the coffee beans and all. I'm like, whoa. Is this a nod to Sky and KJ's line of coffee products that they launched last year? Because if so, hey, good product placement. So from there, they flirt a bit, which honestly, it feels a bit forced. I don't dislike Dr. Vaughn. I do not. But it just seems so random to force these two together. It just does. So out of nowhere, it gets to, well, hey, when I'm going to see you outside of those clothes. What? I mean, outside of your work clothes. That's what I meant. Because, we can go to dinner because I love to eat. And then Andy's like, I love being ate. What the? So then he grabs her face and starts kissing her. And then that's when Andy's mom comes in. Mom! And that's how the episode ends. I did not see that cliffhanger coming. So I guess Pull Up on Me wasn't just about Chaz, but also Andy's mom appearing out of nowhere. Also, they're both wearing white. So that's all I got to say for the episode. I told you it wouldn't be 50-something minutes like last week. Make sure you like and subscribe. What were some of the highlights for you? And as I mentioned before, let me know about the sound quality. Hopefully you're not picking up on a lot of background noises, and I will catch you all in the next video.